Yo, what's going on guys? Welcome back to a brand new video on the channel. Inside of today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the very best mode for every single brawler and also the best map to push them on. So also, before we get into today's video, make sure you put in your suggestions to future guides and whatever else in the comment section below. I want to try and put out at least a guide every couple of days so you guys can improve in Brawl Stars as much as possible. And also, use the creator code in the shop. Mine would be greatly appreciated. So without further ado, let's jump straight into it. Alright guys, as always with his videos, starting off with the start of Brawlers, then working our way up into the chromatics. So starting off with Shelly, there's only one game mode I think she's even viable in whatsoever, and it's Brawl. This game mode is going to be the only mode you can really push Shelly in at the moment. In terms of the best maps for her, it's probably going to be like Sneaky Fields and Center Stage. You're going to be looking for really bushing maps for Shelly, and a lot of maps which have a lot of tanks on, so those are going to be the close quarter ones. Make sure you're pushing Shelly there. So next up we have Anita. Anita, again, just like Shelly, her best mode is going to be Brawl. She's okay on gem grab and inside of heist, but in terms of viability across a lot of different maps, Anita's best game mode is going to be Brawl. So the best maps for her, especially in competitive, I've seen her use a lot in other maps like Triple Dribble, Super Stadium. She's got a pinhole punch. Basically good everywhere down the lane, except for the longer range maps. So yeah, that's going to be the best mode to push Anita on. Okay, so next up we have Occult, and his best game mode to push on is going to be Heist. So he's especially the best on maps like Safe Zone, like Kaboom Canyon, like Pit Stop, Hot Potato, Spring Onions. Basically every single Heist map he's going to be really good on. And the main reason for this is because of his Silver Bullet gadget. A lot of times you can just break up a few key pieces of wall, and a lot of the map is going to be opened up. And especially if you allow Occult to get onto the safe, he's going to do a lot of damage. It can be okay on game modes like Brawl as well, but in terms if you want to push sufficiently, Heist is definitely going to be your best friend. Up next we have Brawler, and Brawler's finally returned to the meta and also into the Heist meta. So as always with Brawl, whenever he's slightly meta, Heist is going to be his best game mode. So I think in terms of maps, the only map he's not really viable on is Kaboom Canyon. It's a bit too open for him, but every single Heist map in the rotation right now is actually really good for him. But if you don't want to really push him in Heist as well, he actually is decent in Brawl, especially with his Stomper gadget. Okay guys, so now moving into Jesse's best game mode is going to be Hot Zone. So Hot Zone right now, Jessie is so good, especially, well, the main reason for this is because of her turret. So her turret is going to be really good in gaining control of one zone. A lot of times you can just stun someone, will slow them down and confirm the kill. That's why she's so good on. In terms of map, she's good on every single Hot Zone map except for Ring of Fire and Split right now. She's one of the golden picks in terms of Hot Zone. She can be decent in other game modes like Gem Grab, Brawl. She's going to have somewhat viability, but I feel like she's definitely one of the strongest brawlers inside of Hot Zone. Okay, so next up we have Brock. Unfortunately, because of the rotation, I haven't got gameplay for every single brawler, Brock being one of them, but his best game mode is going to be Bounty. So Bounty with Brock has always been his best game mode, but especially in this type of meta, honestly, I think he's good in every single Bounty map right now, especially with his gadget. The main reason why he's so good, a lot of kills he can confirm easily with is just with one shot, and then a gadget, you're going to be able to get a lot of kills. And especially in maps I can think of like Dry Season, where you can use the gadget to break open those pieces of walls in the defensive bits, and especially in Canal Grande, like literally one gadget can break open the entire lane. Brock's best game mode by far is going to be Bounty. Okay, so now jumping into Dynamite's best game mode. Right now, it is Brawl. So you guys might be a little bit confused. Heist is normally Dynamite's best game mode, but I think in this meta, Dynamite is so strong inside of Brawl. I see him actually a lot in competitive right now in Brawl, especially on maps like Triple Dribble, Super Stadium, Pinhole Punch, Pinball Dreams. There's just a lot of maps right now where Dynamite actually thrives on, but if you're not feeling confident with him inside of Brawl, obviously you've got game modes like Heist, you've got Pit Stop and Hot Potato, which are going to be really strong maps for him. But overall right now, I think Brawl is his strongest mode. So next up we have Bo, and Bo is basically trash everywhere right now. He used to be insane in Bounty because of his totem, but I really don't think he's in the Bounty meta whatsoever at the moment. So I feel like the only game mode really where you can play him at a decent level in is Gem Grab, mainly as a gem carrier. His best map's probably going to be like Double Swoosh and Undermine, because his mines can actually block off really good choke points, and especially placing his totem down the lane, allowing your lane to get free super. But yeah, Bo's basically just trash everywhere right now. Okay, so next up we have a Tick, and again, no gameplay for this one, but his best game mode, as always, is going to be Bounty. His best map's going to be Canal Grande. I feel like he's literally meta on every single Bounty map except for Snake Prairie. He's just so good, especially just hiding behind the walls. He's been able to cover up so much of the map, but especially with his gadget and his super, is really good against aggro brawlers as well. He's really good on Hot Zone as well. I was going to mention this. He's pretty good on everywhere, especially like Split, Dueling Beetles. A lot lot of his maps, he can just cover a lot of the zone on. But yeah, Tick's best game mode is going to be Bali. Okay, so next up we have 8-Bit. His best game mode by far is going to be Gem Grab right now, especially as a gem carrier. His best maps are going to be maps like Harder at Mine, Undermine, Crystal Arcade, the maps that have like really open lanes, really open map as well. He's going to thrive on, especially if you can put your turret in a safe spot. He's going to still be dominating the mid, even though he's not as meta as before. He's still going to be really good. Other game mode that he's actually pretty decent on as well is Heist, especially on the long range maps like Kaboom Canyon and Safe Zone. But yeah, his best game mode is going to be Gem Grab. Okay, so next up is Ems, and her best game mode, just ever so slightly, I thought is going to be Brawl. So it's a tough choice between Hot Zone and Brawl. She's used a lot in Hot Zone right now, but Brawl, I think she's a little bit more dominant in it, especially with the heavy tank meta. She's just really good at zoning the lanes, and especially on bushy maps like Center Stage, like Sneaky Field, she's just going to dominate on, especially once you get your super. So that's going to be the best game mode for Ems. Okay, so now jumping into Stu's best game mode. This was hard to choose actually, because Stu's good everywhere. He's good on every single map, every single mode. He's obviously a bit better on the maps that aren't as wide open, so I don't really want to play him on maps like Shooting Star, but literally everywhere right now he's going to be so strong on. I don't think there's really a map or mode I need to give it a tip on for this one. Alright, so next up we have El Primo. Again, just like Stu, he's basically broken everywhere right now. I thought his best game mode ever so slightly was Siege. He's really good on maps like Nuts and Bolts, some assembly required, especially when on the push. Like if you have your Primo jump on the push, you should be able to one push a lot of the times. But as always, he's good on every single mode, near enough every single map inside of the game. Obviously, try and stay away from the longer range maps. But even on longer range maps, you can honestly just use them with like a Poco or Byron, and you're still going to be having a good time. But yeah, I think his best game mode slightly Siege, then probably Brawl. Okay, so next up we have a pretty simple one. We have Bali. Bali's best mode tends to always be Siege. The main reason for this one is because he's just really good at dealing a lot of damage to the Ike, especially on offense once he gets one robot. His best maps, as always, as well, going to be some assembly required and Nuts and Bolts. It's just so good, especially down the lane. You can use either gadget to help you on that first siege, and it's just going to be so crucial to win the game. So next up we have Poco. I think his best game mode by far right now is going to be Brawl. He pairs so well, as always, with Poco double tank. He's going to really dominate a lot of bushy maps. There's a lot of bushy maps in a Brawl rotation as well. His best modes, best maps I'm thinking of, are like Super Stadium, Center Stage. He's just going to pair so well with the likes of El Primo right now. Just gadget them up, and they're going to be dominating. So that's going to be his best game. So next up we have Rosa. I think her best game mode by far right now is Gem Grab. That slow gadget is so crucial, especially in the late game as well. If you combine your slow with like a game-changing effect like a gene pool or even like a couple of Piper's shots, you're going to be able to change the outcome of the game so easily. Her best map in the game by far right now, I think, is Harder at Mine. I'm seeing her use a lot in competitive, and there's just such a good win rate with Rosa. Okay, so next up we have Rico. Rico's always been one of the GOATs in Heist. I think right now you can honestly use him pretty much in every single game mode except for Bounty. Right now he's so dominant. Heist is still going to be his better game mode because he just absolutely dominates in maps like Hot Potato, Pit Stop, Spring Onions. Even on maps like Safe Zone now, you've seen him on just because of his gadget. He's so dominant. I would actually say his best map in the game though is Harder at Mine, because he can essentially just close down an entire lane. It's just nothing that's going to be able to stop him. Even throws that counter him, this gadget is just going to enable him to just absolutely wreck in a lane. Rico is just strong everywhere right now. Okay, so next up we have Daryl. This was actually a hard choice because Daryl really isn't good anywhere right now. I think the two game modes that really stick out are Heist and Brawl. Though Heist is obviously going to be really good on the enemy safe. He does a lot of damage. Brawl, he can just be good because of his versatility, and a lot of different brawlers are good on Brawl. But yeah, I think Heist is going to be the best bet to push him. Pit Stop, he can be a good replacement to Brawl if you're looking to push him there. Okay guys, so next up we have Penny. Her best game mode at the moment is going to be Gem Grab. So I still think she's actually a decent gem carrier inside of ladder. Probably not inside of competitive, but inside of ladder you're going to have a good time pushing her, especially on maps like Death Cap Trap, like acute angle, where the turret can just do so much work. It's actually going to be really hard for the enemy to actually destroy it if you put it in a safe spot. Inside of those maps, it was a close choice between Gem Grab and Hot Zone because she can really be dominant on maps like Ring of Fire and maps like Jordan Beatles as well, especially with her turret. But yeah, I think for now her best game mode is going to be Gem Grab. Alright, so next up we have Occult. His best game mode at the moment is going to be Siege. The main reason for this is because of his gadget. I feel like Cole's in a balanced state in the meta, and I think Siege is where he's going to be looking the best on, because a lot of times you can just go towards wherever that first bolt is. use your gadget, collect that first bolt, and it's a lot of time it's just going to determine whether you win the game of Siege or not. It's going to be best on maps like Nuts and Bolts, like Factory Rush as well, especially. He's going to be really good on that kind of map. But I feel like Colette is decent everywhere right now. I feel like you get away using him on a lot of different maps and a lot of different modes. Okay, so now jumping into Jackie's best game mode. Again, it is going to be Siege. I don't think she's in a good place in the meta whatsoever at the moment, but I think Siege narrowly edges it ahead of Brawl right now. I think the tanks are just too strong for her inside of Brawl, so I think Siege is going to be a little bit better for her, especially with her gadget. It's going to enable her to collect bolts a little bit easily. I think her best map is going to be Summer Assembly Required as well. I actually see her being used a little bit there in competitive. Okay, so next up we have Piper, a fairly simple one. Of course, her best game mode still is going to be Bounty. She's always been known as the queen of Bounty, and it still doesn't change in this meta. So of course with Piper, it really does depend on the map. Bounty has a lot of long range maps, but she's going to be really good on other game modes as well with those longer range maps. So she's going to be good on gem grab because as a gem carrier, she's one of the best right now, especially with brawlers like Max out of the meta. Piper's going to be really good. She's going to be good on open maps inside of heists like Safe Zone, like Kaboom Canyon. She's going to be good on Siege as well, on maps like Bot Drop and Factory Rush. So yeah, it just depends on whether the map is open or not. Okay, so next up we have Pam. I don't really feel like Pam is dominant in any single game mode right now, but I think in terms of trophy pushing, I think gem grab is probably going to be your best bet, because not only can you play Pam as a mid, you can play it as a lane as well. Her best map is going to be Minecart Madness, because a lot of times you'll see throwers on that map, so Pam's going to be especially good against brawlers like Sprout, especially with her turrets. So yeah, that's going to be the best game mode for Pam. Okay guys, so next up we have Frank, and of course his best game mode right now is going to be Brawl. So Frank's just so dominant, especially on those closed Brawl maps like Super Stadium, like Center Stage. You can just put a Poco in the comp and Frank's going to be really good on. He can obviously be decent in other game modes, especially with a lot of walls on. A lot of times with Frank, you're just using him for pressure. He's got a high amount of HP. You don't really need to do a lot with Frank. Just got to get value out of his super and you can make some good plays. So yeah, his best game mode is going to be Brawl. Okay, so next up we have BB, and as always I feel like BB's best game mode is always going to be Siege. The main reason for this is because of her home run style power, just being able to collect the bolts so fast and getting that first bolt as well. It's so crucial to win this game mode. BB is going to be really strong on the more closed Siege maps, so like Nuts and Bolts, Some Assembly Required. She's going to be really good there. So yeah, that's the best game mode to push BB on. The next up we have B. This is a really easy choice for me. By far her best game mode is going to be Brawl. She's so good in this type of meta. B is a really balanced brawler, but especially when there's like a tank meta, she's always going to be so dominant on Brawl. You see her basically on every single map inside of Brawl. I don't think there's really like a best map for her. In terms of competitive, I think probably like Super Stadium as a mid, you can't really take her out just because of how well she deals with tanks. Essentially, like Poco double tank, she can near enough 1v3 versus that composition. This is just why she's so good inside of Brawl. So next up we have NANI. Her best game mode is going to be Bounty. Bounty has always been NANI's best game mode. Normally it's because of the cheesy bow strategy with a totem, but right now that strategy isn't really viable at all. But NANI's still going to be really good. Her best map by far is going to be Shooting Star, if you guys know, with a return to sender gadget. Basically, against every single long-range brawler in the game, you're going to be near enough unkillable, especially whilst you have those 3 gadgets. It just reflects so much damage. You basically hard counter every other long-range brawler inside of a game. NANI's so dominant inside of Bounty. The next up is EDGAR, and it was pretty hard to decide which mode was really best for EDGAR because he's pretty much trash in every single map and mode right now. But I think it's just edging it on Brawl, just because inside Brawl, as I said, you can use a lot of different brawler compositions and whatever else, and EDGAR can just have a good job at being really aggressive, especially making those quick plays, making them quick goals. I don't really know what the best map is for him. Maybe like maps like Super Stadium where you see a lot of throwers, but EDGAR's going to have the best time when he can face off against those squishy brawlers. So yeah, try and look for the maps that dominate with throwers. Okay, so next up we have GRIFF. GRIFF, a bit of an interesting one. I feel like his best game mode at the moment is again Brawl. He's seen a lot of the same patterns with a lot of these brawlers in the meta. Brawl tends to be like the best mode, but for a new brawler like GRIFF, I think Brawl is pretty safe to push him, especially on those grassy maps. He just absolutely destroys tanks, so try and get up against those tanks. Constantly chain those supers and you're going to be having a good time with GRIFF. Okay, so next up we have MORTIS, and if you're struggling to push MORTIS, I think his best game mode at the moment is Gem Grab. A lot of times with Mortis, it doesn't matter how many times you really die throughout the game. In Gem Grab, all you need is that one clutch play, steal the gems, get out of there. Yeah, it's going to be his best game mode inside of competitive. I feel like right now Mortis is honestly good in every single game mode except for Heist, especially against the Brawlers, which, well, like the throwers. If you see a lot of like Sprout in the composition, you're going to be having a good time with Mortis. But yeah, as I said, Gem Grab, just a turnaround ability with Mortis, that's going to be his best game mode. Okay, so next up we have TORAH. This is actually a really tough choice between Gem Grab and Brawl. I would honestly say it's like 50-50 in terms of what her best game mode is right now. But in terms of Brawl, I think she's just really solid down the lane against like every single brawler inside of a game right now. She's good against tanks. She's good against those squishy brawlers or the one-shot brawlers with her gadgets. She's basically good on near enough every single map and mode right now. Try and avoid her on the more long-range compositions and try and use her more on the sneakier maps like center stage as well, where there's a lot of grass. You can get a lot of potential value out of your super. So next up we have my boy Gene. He is good in every single game mode right now except for Heist. So I thought that Gem Grab probably is going to be his better mode, because right now there's not really a gem carrier that can really beat him inside of the middle. He's just really safe against aggro compositions. He's good against so many different compositions because of his pull, because of his knockback gadget as well. Just everything about him is really strong. His star power allows you to just combine with so many different compositions on so many different maps. So I don't feel like there's really like a strongest map for Gene. He's just good everywhere. Okay, so next up we have Max, and her best game mode right now by far is going to be Brawl. So I feel like in terms of ladder, she's just really going to suit this game mode a lot better because of her super. Just when you pair this with a lot of different brawlers, you're going to be able to make for some good opportunities and score a lot of goals. So in terms of best map, I don't really think there's like a best map for her. Probably more the passive maps right now she's going to be better on, because she can counter those longer range brawlers. That's going to be the best game mode for Max. So next up we have Mr. P. Mr. P not really in the best place in the meta at the moment. He's going to be better on modes where you don't see a lot of aggro. I feel like the only mode really you see less aggro on is bounty. So he's going to be best in bounty because you see a lot of like Pipers, a lot of Brocks, a lot of Ticks, Sprouts, those type of brawlers inside of bounty. So Mr. P is going to have a good time against those long range brawlers, because essentially you can near enough free shot or full shot a lot of them, and especially his porters can waste a lot of those ammos. So his best map is probably going to be like Layer Cake and Canal, because that's where you're going to see the Pipers on. So up next we have Sprout, and Sprout essentially is probably the best brawler inside of Siege. The main reason for this one, so just like Lou, it has a perfect defense on this game mode. So if you use your transplant gadget on maps like Nuts and Bolts, essentially you can at least 2 pushes you can flawlessly defend, because you can just put a wall down one side, the robot runs all the way to the other side, use the gadget and defend like that. So his best game mode is going to be Siege. You know, he's really good on other game modes as well, depending on the composition that you have, but I just feel like he absolutely dominates Siege. Okay, so next up we have Byron. His best game mode is going to be Heist. The main reason for this one is just because of his synergy with Colette. That synergy is so good, especially if Colette has the shield star power. You can just deal so much damage with his combination. Byron's okay in a lot of different places in the meta right now. Not really the strongest brawler. I'd probably say his second best game mode is probably Gem Grab, just because of his synergies right there. But his best map is going to be definitely Kaboom Canyon. That synergy with Colette is crucial. Okay, so next up we have one of the worst brawlers inside of the game right now, Squeak. He's pretty much trash in every single game mode right now, but the one game mode I get a decent success rate with him in, it is Hot Zone. So the main reason for this is just literally because of his zoning. It just pairs really well for a game mode like Hot Zone, especially when you combine his normal attack with his super. A lot of times you can just zone an enemy away from those zones. So his best map probably is going to be maps like Ring of Fire, where there's just one zone. You can just consistently keep up the pressure with his shots. But yeah, he's pretty lackluster in every single game mode. Okay, so up next we have Spike. So I think his best game mode, just ahead of Gem Grab, is Brawl. So whenever Spike is meta, it's just a really solid lane in Gem Grab and Brawl. I think he just edges it in Brawl because there's a lot more tanks in this game mode, and obviously Spike deals really well against those tanky brawlers because he does a lot of damage. But essentially he's going to be good on every single lane right now, especially because of his curveball star power. I'm seeing him used a lot in competitive right now, and even on Backyard Bowl, because of his curveball. It outranges a lot of different brawlers, and his gadget as well allows him to tank multiple shots as well. I feel like Spike is pretty dominant everywhere right now. So next up we have Crow. So I feel like this was a really hard one as well, because I feel like it's good in every single game mode right now except for Bounty, and it really just depends on the map. So all the map needs to be is a little bit open. The lane needs to be open, the map needs to be open, and Crow's going to dominate on. So the main reason for this one, as always, is his gadget. His gadget just allows for so much pressure. He can basically counter tanked, he can counter throwers, he can counter basically every single archetype in the game right now just because of all of his mechanics. So yeah, Crow's best map probably is going to be maps like Backyard Bowl, like Bot Drop, where his slow's essentially going to win you big games, being able to pick them off for free kills. So that's going to be the best game modes for Crow. Okay, so now moving on to the Brawler, which has finally got some 3v3 love, is Leon. So Leon actually is strong on multiple game modes right now. It's a really hard choice between Gem Grab and Hot Zone, but I think Hot Zone is his best game mode right now. He's basically in every single combo on a few maps. So maps like Parallel Plays, you can essentially put that gadget behind a lot of different walls and you're going to have such a good time, especially if you're constantly cycling your supers. It's going to be really strong. You know, you have Ring of Fire, Duel and Beetles, so many maps where you can just put a totem behind and do a good job in. He's really good in Gem Grab as well right now. You got Hard Rep Mine. A lot of times you literally put the gadget in the back. It's going to help you mid and you yourself in your lane. I feel like Leon is in a great spot in the meta. Okay, so next up we have Sandy. So Sandy's refound himself in the meta and I feel like he's so strong inside of Brawl, Gem Grab and Siege right now. He can essentially be used on every single map. That stun gadget just allows him to be so viable on the lane, and just his normal shooter mechanics, being able to wall peek a lot of different walls, is really good everywhere right now. So I'd say he's better on the bushier maps as well, mainly because of his super. With the Rude Sand style power, you're just going to be able to push the enemy team back, scout the grass really easily and gain control. So that's going to be Sandy's best game modes. Okay, so next up we have Amber. Amber is, you know, decent and across a lot of different game modes right now, but I feel like her playground is definitely Hot Zone. So the reason for this, I think it's plain and simple, the super. The super can just cover so much area, and right now just being able to change your supers, especially with the style power, you're going to have such a good time. It's like the enemy has to go into certain positions obviously to capture the point, but that super just allows you to just keep chaining, just keep setting the enemy team on fire and just getting some easy kills. So that's going to be Amber's best mode. Okay guys, so now moving on to Gale. I don't really think Gale is that strong across any game mode right now. He's just a bit average everywhere, but if I was to pick one, I would probably have to say Hot Zone. As always, it's kind of been Gale's most reliable game mode right now. So in terms of his new gadget, I feel like it's pretty strong on maps like Parallel Plays, on maps like Split. A lot of times you can just put that gadget in the choke point and they obviously can't move towards it. If it's not Hot Zone, I think Brawl is an easy mode to kind of push him on. You see a lot of like melee brawlers, that gadget's going to counter those melee brawlers because obviously they can't get right close to you and kill you. So those are the maps and modes that are best for Gale. Okay, so next up we have Surge. I feel like his best game mode just narrowly is Brawl right now, just because of the different lane brawlers inside of a game. He kind of struggles in a lot of different game modes, so Brawl is probably going to be his best bet because the lanes a lot of times they're quite simple. You could just TP down the lane and get an easy kill a lot of different brawlers. I think his other best game mode, it can be really hard to pull it off, but on Siege he's got a really good win rate inside of maps like Factory Rush, inside of maps like some assembly required as well. Just getting that TP on those squishy brawlers is really crucial. Good on Hot Zone as well on maps like Split. So right now Surge is just okay everywhere. It's not really a best map or mode. If I was to pick one, it'd probably have to be Split, just because of his interactions with like brawlers like Rico, like Tick. So those are going to be the best maps for Surge. Okay, so next up we have Colette. Her best game mode by far right now, of course, it's going to be Heist. So Heist, she's really strong on because she's normally like the #1 pick inside of maps like Safe Zone, Kaboom Canyon, Hot Potato. She's so good in Hot Potato as a mid because a lot of times you just get a super, go back into the middle, recharge your super again, and you're just consistently getting 13% of damage onto that high safe zone. She's going to be insane down the lane. You just can't ignore that damage with the shield as well. She's just such a hard kill to get. A lot of times you're just going to be feeding her super over and over again. She can be okay in Brawl because of her tanks, but I'll definitely recommend pushing her inside of Heist. Okay, so next up we have Lou, a really simple one. I feel like everyone in the community knows his best game modes, right? So his best game modes by far going to be Hot Zone and Siege. So I thought Siege was his best game mode, mainly because he gets a flawless defense. So a lot of times you face tanks now, especially with likes of Primo just being so dominant in the meta. He can charge that super so easily. and the super obviously just gets a perfect defense. So on maps that have walls on close to the Ike, so maps like Nuts and Bolts I can think of, Factory Rush, he's just such a good pick there because, as I said, you just get a flawless defense every single time. Unless the enemy has a wall break, you're going to be able to defend it so easily. Hot Zone is going to be really good, especially on maps like Ring of Fire, where his super just covers the entire zone, right? So if the enemy goes towards you, you can just recharge your super so easily. So there's going to be by far lose best game mode. Okay guys, so now moving on to Roughs. I think this is a really hard decision. I'll say again, it'll be like a 50-50 split between Bounty and Hot Zone. So Roughs is really good in Bounty, because what you can do with Roughs, you can pair him with like a Gene or like a Sprout or a Tick with the heal star power, and you can get so much HP by the end of the game, especially if you group up. So it's going to be incredibly effective on maps like Canal Grande. You can all stack one lane, just get your Tick to like 6k HP. It's going to be insane. It's going to be insane on maps like Dry Season as well. Really defensive maps where the enemies are just constantly going to be pushing you. It's going to be really good right there. But I thought Hot Zone is going to be really good on as well, because he's really good defensively on parallel plays. Again, if you combine like with a Gene's so strong in this meta. The Gene Roughs combo is so strong. Split, he's really good because of the sandbags. You know, it can prevent a Surge from TPing onto you. So yeah, that's going to be the best game modes for Roughs. So next up, we have Belle, a top 3 brawler in the meta. And I just think, again, one of these brawlers where she's good everywhere right now. She just has to be a more open map. So make sure it's not a map with a ton of walls, as she's probably going to struggle in. But still then, I feel like she can be pretty decent on, because she has the potential to do a lot of damage up close as well. But yeah, Belle's going to be working at best on those open maps. So the maps I can think of are just going to be basically like a lot of different gem grab maps. She's going to be thrive on because most of them are open. She's going to be good on Siege. She can use this super onto the robot there, but just yeah, literally everywhere that's open, Belle is going to dominate on. Okay, so next up we have Buzz. I feel like Buzz actually is in a good place right now. I feel like it can be used in every single game mode. But if I was to pick one, it would probably be Siege, just mainly because of his gadget, right? So he's just got the mechanic like Carl, where he can use his gadget, collect the first bolt, and a lot of game mode, well, obviously every single map inside of Siege, there's not really a lot of space in between the Ikes, right? So you're going to be able to charge your super so fast, and with a stun, you're going to be able to just get those bolts so easily. So I think this is going to be his best mode, but of course it can be really good on different modes like Gem Grab. You can be really good just like Mortis, how you can last second just go in on Gem Carrier, stun them, get the gems, grapple out. It's just going to be a really good assassin brawler on a lot of different game modes. Alright guys, this is going to be it for today's video. Another long one. A lot of work went into this video, so I appreciate all the support with this one. I want to continue to with the guide videos, because I really do enjoy them. I love seeing the feedback on these type of videos, helping you guys improve in Brawl Stars. Let me know if this video helps you at all. I'll continue to do so. Let me know any improvements as well, whether you want like the map to appear on the screen or just other tips and whatever else in terms of these guides. So yeah, that's going to be it for today's video, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.